Yeah, been a minute. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into PRs, which I'll be frank with you, I've not had a lot of time to look at. So this is going to be new and exciting. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Add RFC to unify log output. I think that I put the ball into uh, is this Rolf's court, and I have heard basically nothing back. I can ping this again and see if there's any other movement on this, but I don't have any updates on this. Great. Next up, we have post following every Ubuntu LTS. This is from Jan. And this has not the most recent. I mean, this is like a month old requested changes. I think Jan needs to take a look at this. I don't know that I think that Jan came in and talked about this in a working group. I think maybe even the last working group that had everyone in it. And I think that the discussion was that the approach sound like everything about the approach sounded good. Actually executing it on it technically might be more treacherous than it sounds.
Yeah, and I think that's where 313 came from.
Oh,
And
oh,
so
oh.
there's basically a proposal to like basically have one stack with multiple run images. Kind of like that's what we do for UBI, but we do that automatically. It selects the run image based on, whether you've got the node version or you're using Java or whatever. This I think would be more manual, but it's like maybe we make up for having two versions of Ubuntu by only having one version of the stack, which has multiple run images, and then those multiple run images, you can use them, but you have to say, well, no, here's the run image I want to use when I use the builder, right?
I think the idea behind this, from talking to him, is that there is one build image and different run images, right?
Yep.
And then you're talking about, so that's what you're saying, but you're talking about doing the automated work. I don't even know that.
No, I just mentioned that like for UBI, that's already automatic for people.
Hmm.
But for Ubuntu, I was trying to say it would be like you'd manually choose, which I think it would be fine, right? Like,
Well, sure. I think it depends on like yes, you would manually choose, but that manual choice would probably most likely be like at the most granular level, like a project toml. But for the most part, I imagine most people are using a builder, because that's the only way to. Well, I guess it's not the only way.
There
I
is
I
also you can specify it with a flag option on the pack
yes,
slide.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the only options on the builder, and also Michael says you can put it on the just as run option or pack CLI. But definitely this has its limitations. For the cloud, for example, if you want to deploy it, might not be supported with other CLIs.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like I don't know what the sorry, that's where I don't know what the average like workflow is. Um, and like whether or not like how do people actually interact with this on most systems? So like you're right. You in pack you can specify a build and run image, but like I imagine most people are using builders because they don't want to have to like specify a build pack for every given uh image. And even if they are like only using one build pack, I assume that you would still just make a builder that had your given build and run because stacks don't exist, but they have build and run, and then uh just the build pack you want embedded into it, I assume.
Yes.
this, sorry, go ahead, Cost.
No, just from my point of view, it's mostly to have everything under one repo, as
Yes.
it's not like, I mean, even if, I mean, in the future stacks, I mean, if stacks are already deprecated and we will move one day, I don't know when, to targets. So from this point of view, it's just one repo that generates all the build and the run images.
I, I
That's
And I think that that totally makes sense. I think that I think the only problem that we're still, I'm a little confused on what we are going to do for builders because this says that proposed to merge stack, tiny, and base stacks and builders.
Uh,
And I'm not entirely sure how that would work.
I think the suggestion was is there's one
To be fair, I also haven't
builder.
read this yet. So,
There's one builder, but you specify, like you have one builder, it works by default. So if you're just doing the easiest thing, you run, it works. If you now say, well, I want to optimize, then you would need to use the builder, but use the option, an option if there, and this is where I haven't looked specifically, like there's an option to tell the builder, no, use this run image instead, you would use that.
we can, the only way to do that is through the extension, because the extension catches the run match. The other option is the dust as flag, and but about the builders, um, there is a discussion like I mean, I don't think these RFC affects that much the builders. It's not like we can unify them. Um, I mean, we unified them under a repo, but in the end, we will end up having multiple builders anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought my initial impression, maybe I was wrong, was that like we would have the one builder and there'd be some way for you to say like I'm using this builder, just use a different run image. But if
Yeah,
there's no way to do that, then that like you would have to put a command line option that says no, instead of the default run image, this is the run image I want.
yes, or through the extension, we can do that.
Yeah, like for a UBI, we already do that, but I think like in this case, it would just be like it just works when you're starting out, just works. You don't even have to decide, well, which builder do I have to use? Um, and then once you get a little further, you're like, okay, well, now I want to make this smaller or whatever. You could then say, oh, well, now I got to figure out that when I actually use the builder, I'm going to give it an option that says, let's use this run image instead of the builder image.
Now, in that case, you will have to use the builder for Node.js specifically, for example. That's the solution in that case. There is no, I mean, at least from what I understand, there's no other way.
Okay, like a builder doesn't give you an option to like, there's no way to
Yeah.
tell Pack, use this
So we
builder,
have,
but use a different run image.
yes, the builder does not give you an option. So we have like the full, the jump, the base, and the tiny builders that pretty much will work with everything or not. For example, tiny might not work with everything, but base it should. And then we have like a builder for Node.js, a builder for Java, a builder for Ruby, etc. That's the solution so far. Or if you have the extension, then you just create an extension and you do whatever you want onto the run image.
Uh, I don't know why you would need builders specific to like Node because I mean you add in a layer, which is the Node layer, and that will run on the equivalent of the tiny run image, right? Like it's UBI is a little different, but like for the regular builders, when you go through the build phase, it adds in the layers you need, and then it puts it on top of another image, right? And the real difference is, I think, between the build like tiny is that like, okay, you're gonna have a smaller run image, right?
Correct. But the tiny, for example, might not work.
so I guess I don't I just I like I said I haven't had a chance to read this, but like it sounds like we want to reduce the build. Like I don't understand if we want to reduce the builders to one repository or one image. But I guess similarly, we would replace the current tiny static builders with a
It's
single
proposing a
builder.
single build image on line 6.
Yeah, I see it right. Oh, okay, I see. And then I guess maybe Ozzy, do you know the mechanism to switch like the underlying run image at build time?
There are two, basically, as we've discussed. There's the extension mechanism where you
Okay.
can switch it out via any extension, can switch it via a from for the run image. Although if you're doing switching, you can't do run image extension at the same time. That was a restriction. You can either extend a run image or you can switch it. Or Some platforms allow you to specify a run image, but that isn't a spec required thing. That's just something that Pack happens to let you do.
Okay, so that's where the subtleties, like, so with Pack, that would be no problem.
Yeah.
But with some
Pack's a
platforms,
Swiss Army knife. It'll let you do almost anything. Like it'll allow you to embed Buildpacks from your disk as part of the builder, which isn't part of the spec either. That's not
Right.
part of anything. So
like, I don't know, that feels, I don't know. I guess maybe then I would want to push back against parts of this because I feel like it's a bad experience. Not, I don't know. I think for the most part, people would be fine running against base run, except for like, I don't know, PHP or something like that, right? Um, uh, but getting smaller is, I think, the thing that everyone wants to do, or it was when we were, creating tiny and static and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I need another. I need a better. I guess I need a better grasp on exactly how that works, and I just don't know that I have the. I don't know that I have the technical grasp on it. So I need to look at this. Although it does look like it already has approval from Dan, so I need to go through the comments, I think.
For the stacks, makes sense. I think it's a good thing. For the builder, for me, it's a little bit unclear whether it's gonna be one repo. Definitely it cannot be one builder, of course. We will have to have multiple builders anyway.
but not with Pack. Like Pack, it sounds like with Pack, you either specify different builders or you could specify one builder with different run images, and that feels like the same amount of effort, right?
Pack, I mean, by default, you can only ever specify one builder because you can't have a choice of which builder to run. You know what I mean? So you're always going to have one builder selected as the one that's going to be the one that carries out the build. There can be multiple run images specified for a given builder, as we do with UBI, and that's mostly to allow the platforms to be able to pull all of the run images or to know if a run image is being requested that doesn't form part of this stack, which is also what we're doing with UBI at the moment, because I believe the stack is still being built using an older version of tooling, so it's not actually including the list of run images within the metadata, so that every time you do a build at the moment, we get a warning saying, hey, we've switched to a run image that wasn't an expected one, because there's only one expected one. But that's an aside. Once you do get a builder that specifies multiple run images, the question is, how does an end user end up on any run image other than the default? And Pack provides a way for you to force it by setting it, and extensions can change it to something else. But there are limitations around that. For instance, what happens if the user tries to set a run image and an extension tries to switch to a run image? That's not clear because the spec doesn't really allow for forcing a run image from outside. So by spec, it should be using the extension switched run image, but by Pack, it might end up doing something different, and who knows what the build will do. But these are CNCF build pack questions rather than Paketo issues at this point, you know.
Yeah, which is like where my trepidation comes in. I don't know that I would want to have a single builder if there wasn't a like I understand. So a builder can support multiple run images beyond the mirrors, right? You could give like a default and then a list of run images.
Yeah.
But I feel like unless there's a way during build for me to specify, I guess it wouldn't even have to be that. Unless like no, it'd have to be a build because you put everything onto the run image for the final container. Like unless there was a way, I guess I feel like there should be a way, an easier way for me, given that the fact that the builder has a matrix of run images to select one of the underlying run images supported by the builder. There should be an easier way to do that at build time. That is
Yeah,
supported
that would need to
as
be a
part of
spec.
the RFC. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that would need. Sorry, go on.
I'm just thinking of like, say, just pack. So just consider the pack experience today. You basically select your run image by choosing the builder, right? So you choose, you go pack and you say it's this builder, that builder, the other builder. I don't really see that being any easier than saying pack common builder dash dash tiny run image dash, standard run image or whatever, right? Like that feels pretty much the same. So
Yeah,
then,
but
then it would be like, what other cases are there other than people using pack? Is it like, say it's like a platform provider who wants to provide support, right? Like
yeah,
then
well,
it would be, go
I
ahead.
think that I would like the build packs and builders that we provide to be platform agnostic, right? Which means that they would have to conform to whatever is specified in the actual platform spec. So like it's all fine and good for that to work on pack, but like even like another like even like another build packs project, like I don't know that that works on K-Pack, right? Or I don't know that it works on. I know Ozzy at one point you were creating a platform. I don't know if that works on the platform that you were working on or anything like that, right? Like if I'm remembering correctly, you were working on a platform,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, I've got a Java platform that I'm still working on, and you can like it'll do image switching, it'll do all of that lot because that's part of the spec. But you can't override a run image, or if you do try and override an image run image, then you have to set the behavior as to what should win if an extension tries to override it as well. But that's platform specific in the sense that the spec didn't dictate how that should be handled. I'm fortunate that my platform is a library, so I just write library methods that allow somebody to poke it the right way. But at the end of the day, my library is consumed by Quarkus, right? And Quarkus has to make a call as to what's sensible for a default behavior. And that's where you start running into trouble because inevitably you hit the point where somebody just wants it to do the sensible thing and you can't do a sensible thing because there is no sensible thing anymore.
right. Other than use the like given default, but then how do you actually do the switch, and then how do we know what's overriding what? Yeah, it's it.
Yeah,
I don't
because you
know.
could add an extension quite easily that read an environment variable or a file in your project and switched the run image to that. It's totally doable today, but it wouldn't be a smart plan.
Yeah, it just feels like more of a hack than anything else. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go in and push back and say like, hey, I'm all cool with condensing all of the stacks into a single repository and keeping an eye on that until there's an
Mhm.
actual like sophisticated way to select a run image out of a single builder, like out of a multi-run image builder. Then I can't in good consciousness say that we should do that.
I think it would be good to put the, like, specifically, like, here are the other ones that are where it might not work, right? Like, yeah, it might be okay with pack because there's the thing, but like, here are the other environments that it may not work properly.
Well, that's a problem because then you're asking to define the world, right? Because
No, I didn't mean, but like some examples would be good for the discussion, right? To say like, okay, well, what would that look like for this one? It's like, oh, well, now we're totally
the
stuck, right? Like that just
the
helps
quick
you
platforms
understand.
that are going to run into problems. I mean, there's the Spring Boot plugin, which has a built-in platform implementation that it uses when it's building stuff.
Yeah.
There's Tecton pipelines. They're all going to fail on this miserably as well.
Yeah.
My platform I can probably tweak one way or the other because it's being actively developed. But I mean, the Spring Boot plugin is miles behind in some ways. It doesn't even have extension support at this point.
Frankly, if this is not going to work out of the box for Spring Boot, then it's kind of failure to launch. I'm gonna be totally honest. Uh,
That's why I just suggested
yeah,
like make some concrete examples because that makes it very,
yeah.
it's not like, hey, the platform doesn't do it. It's like, oh no, here these people are going to be in trouble, right?
Yeah, Ozzy, if you wouldn't mind adding to that conversation, or well, I can take a look, or sending me just like a quick cursory list, and I can see if I can add this to the conversation of like, hey, I'm concerned about these things for the builder, then I will go in and add it.
Oh, no worries.
Awesome. Uh, let's go ahead and move on a little bit so that we can get through the rest of our RFCs. We have proposed to manage project status. I have no idea what this is. Let's see here. Okay, so this is about going through and seeing what particular teams and projects are being actively maintained and what aren't.
And sort of
Makes sense.
flagging that on the repo so people could tell, I think, is the proposal.
Yep, that makes sense. I'll take another quick look at that later. I don't think there's much discussion for that to be had in this particular meeting. And then finally, hey, 19 hours ago, promote the UBI stack to Paketo. I will take a look at this, and then I will get another stack maintainer to take a look at this as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, I just opened it up. I figured trying to say I think the stack itself is pretty stable now and it's been out there for a while, so it's probably time to look at that.
Sounds great. All right. Is there any other RFCs we want to discuss or anything else of that nature?
I guess there's a couple, the other two were drafts still or something, like the proposal to publish multi-arch build packs and a couple dependencies. Those showed up to when I generated the list.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm here. You know what? I'm gonna do this right now. I'm gonna close the decouple dependencies build pack RFC
Okay.
because I have not worked on it. There has been a complete stalling of. I think that maybe fortunately we got the good thing out of this, which is that we sort of unified our dependency metadata. I'm gonna leave the branch open for right now, but beyond that, I think that the desire to have independent metadata packages has stalled out, and until it revives, I'm going to keep it closed. I have no idea what the state of the proposal to publish multi-arch build packs. I feel like the project or the work to do this has moved forward in spite of the proposal. And I have not heard from Jericho in a little while. So I will leave this open and I will send a message saying, hey, like I some update on this or closing out would be appreciated.
Yeah, if you can, like, if he's not around, like maybe we just want to open a simpler one that says we're going to do this and we're going to use the techniques provided by the CNCF infrastructure, which is I think what we're doing, right? Like, if we need one at all, but like, because that sort of reflects what's happening is like, I know that, on the Java side, they've added in support and we're working on the Node side, and it's just like, okay, Pack and Jam and like, I guess Pack and some of the tools support adding multi-arch in a particular way, and we're just adopting that.
Yep. All right. Anything else? Oh. All right.
You mean accept the RFCs, right?
Yeah,
Anything
then
else?
for
Okay.
the CNB
Yeah,
updates.
sorry. Anything else on the RFCs? That's my bad.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the meeting. CNB updates and questions. I have been delinquent at CNB working group meetings, so I have no updates to give.
Yeah, I'm only just back from Christmas, New Year, so figuring out what's going on still.
Oh. All right, project update. I don't think I have any project updates. Yeah, nothing I can think of. And then open mic questions or discussion topics. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having the
Sorry, I mean, if you have access or if you have some time, I think it's pretty quick and easy thing. On the Jam repo, there are some pull requests from Dependabot that were not able to be merged for a while, for almost 1 year, because some tests were failing. We fixed these tests. So the only thing that it's pending to be done is like go and if you have access rights, just write add depend about recreate and probably will recreate the pull request. And if it passes, then just merge it because Jam CLI hasn't been updated for almost 1.5 years, except the PR that fixes the failing tests. So I think it would be good, and we also need it for some of our pull requests. Just I mean, I th
Oh yeah, I cut a release last night of Jam. I will go through and I will recreate all of the Dependabot PRs and try and merge those, and then I will anything that goes through, I will cut another release.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
view landed the PR I submitted and cut a jam release. Is that the?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Costas, just you understood it better than I did. I just saw the tooling was broken, so I submitted a PR just to update packet, which is what we needed, and asked for us to land that and kind of release. So it sounds like he did that, so we should be unblocked.
Okay.
But it sounds like it should be easy to fix the automation as well, so that would be good. I just
Yeah.
didn't quite have that context, and I was like, let's make this as easy as possible, right? So,
Okay, cool. That works too. So.
okay, yeah, thanks.
Sorry, I'm running, 5 or 6 recreate commands, and then I will keep an eye on that. It'll be on my, 4th monitor, which doesn't exist. But I will check into those tabs every now and again. Anything that goes green, merged for sure. And then I will try and cut another release, probably tonight. If
Yeah,
anything goes through.
that's just to have the mechanism enabled because it has been installed for a while. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, thanks. If that's it.
Great. Anything else?
Well, I could
Oh,
just sort of a piece of a side info on the same time. As I say, I'm writing my platform and still developing it at the moment. But one of the things I've been up to recently is testing it using GitHub Actions. So I've just been through the last week or so figuring out GitHub actions that can run on macOS 13 runners and Linux runners that run against Docker and run against Podman and run against Podman in rootful and rootless mode, so that I can drive test cases of my platform building projects, various projects at different Java levels, for instance. I don't know, maybe I should have a chat with the Pack team up at CNCF, but it's an interesting thing to be able to do now, because when I do a build of my thing, I get it run a quick build of a Spring project and a Quarkus project, Java 8, 11, 17, 21 against Podman, rootless, rootful on Mac and on Linux. And I wanted to do Windows, but Windows doesn't support nested virtualization under GitHub, so you can't actually run anything other than Windows containers. So yeah, I came this close to covering everything.
well, I don't even think Pack supports Windows, so you're not gonna.
Well, no, Pack supports running on Windows against Docker, so because
Oh,
everything
I
is
see.
then
So like
Linux inside.
if you have Hyper-V running, you
Exactly,
can get that done.
WSL2
Yeah,
based Docker install under the covers, everything's fine. But you can't test that via a GitHub action because the virtualization level that they've got only allows you to have WSL1, so you can't run a nested VM like Docker or Podman needs, so that's out the window. But it does let you run Docker with Windows containers, which is enough for me to at least prove that I can derive where the pipe is to talk to Docker and all of that kind of stuff. So I can get half of my tests done.
That's crazy, because you would think that Azure VMs would be balling out for Windows.
You can do that if you're paying money to actually host your own runners, but the runners that are provided by GitHub are pretty restricted in what they can do. I mean, this is why I have to use macOS 13, because that's the last one that was guaranteed to run on Intel. Everything after that switched to M1 hardware, and that doesn't support nested virtualization under GitHub runners, which means as time moves on, we're going to get less and less testing done, which is a great feeling.
All right. Well, good luck and Godspeed.
Yeah, no worries. I think that might be useful for us maybe when we start looking at running, because like I can run tests now I am running tests against the UBI builder in this way, because I'm using that as my test image. So effectively I'm driving the UBI builder in all of those different environments and checking that the image created was working. So So
That's
neat.
good. Like our integration tests in the existing Paketo testing certainly drives the UBI builder, but I
Mhm.
guess all under Docker or under
Probably Docker
basically,
Linux as default, yeah,
Docker
under
Linux
Ubuntu.
is the, yeah.
Yep. So it's nice to see it run under Podman and everything else at the same time. I mean, in theory, none of this stuff should make any difference, right? Container runtime is a container runtime. Providing the platform takes care of any differences, you shouldn't care.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's worth testing, isn't it? Oh, well, that's all I've got anyways. So,
Awesome.
cool.
All
Take
right.
care.
See
Okay,
you
at the
on
next
talk to
one.
everybody next time.